Okay, so now I want to talk about a phenomenon called integer division, which is something we want to avoid. So for example, I have created two integers up here. We have a num for the numerator, which I'll make 10, and then denom for the denominator, which I'll make 3. Okay, notice these are two integer types. And then I'm going to create a decimal. We know that 10 divided by 3 is 3.33 and so on. And so I'm going to make sure I create a decimal variable to hold that result, that 3.33 and so on, all right? And so here's my division operation. So watch what happens when I run this. Okay, look at that. We have just a 3. The decimal portion of the answer was truncated. And that's what integer division does. Integer division, it's almost like a law, and not just in C# but other languages too. It basically states an integer divided by an integer will give you an integer result, period, even if you don't want one, okay? Which is what's happening here. So whenever you have an integer divided by an integer, any decimal portion of that answer is going to be truncated. So how do we get around it? Well, I mean, I guess an easy way would be to make these floats or decimals or one of the floating point types instead of an integer. But what if I don't want to change the data type? What if I want to keep those as integers for whatever reason? There is a workaround, and that's called a cast. Okay, when you cast, you temporarily change a data type to another data type. Okay, so for example, and it doesn't matter which one of these I choose. I can pick either or, the numerator or the denominator. I'll pick the numerator. I'm just going to squeeze in here and put in decimal. Okay, and this is like a magic wand right here, and it's going to change this data type, the num data type, from an int to a decimal just for a split second, a fraction of a second, while this line of code is running. And what happens is we no longer have an integer divided by an integer at that moment. We have a decimal divided by an integer, and that's fine. That'll sail right through. We're going to get our 0.333 and so on. And then as soon as that line of code is done executing, num goes back to being a lowly integer again. Okay, so that's just a quick temporary change. The cast is a quick temporary change to get the data type from one to another. Okay, and it's not forever. It's not permanent. It's only while that line is executing. So we'll go ahead and run that. We'll make sure we see our decimal. Okay, and there you have it. You know, if that's too long, I think I'll show you a quick way to kind of cut that a little bit using a format string. What we can do is I'm going to squeeze in here, and I'm going to use the ToString method on that result. And then I'm going to provide a little like format pattern, we'll say. This is kind of an old-fashioned way of formatting a number, or formatting output, but it still works. And so yeah, just putting a ToString on that, and then this format pattern. If I want 3 decimal places, I can do 3 $. So just kind of providing a template for what you want that result to look like. Okay, and there you have it. It matches my format pattern that I provided. And then one more thing, while we're on the topic of ToString, what if we were to provide this? Let's say that 3.33 was a money value. What you can do is, if you want to format it currency style, you use this ToString method, provide a capital C. I think a small c would work there too. And you'll get the result formatted in US currency, if that's what you want. Okay.